All right, what is good, family? This is Brian Lewis once again with another daily news update. So, in today's stream, I'm going to talk about how a handful of Democratic senators are pulling a page directly out of Donald Trump's playbook by introducing a bill today to limit Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Now, I've covered this topic one or two other times before on the channel. This is the first time I'm doing it during the or under the Biden administration. The previous videos were under Trump, which I'm going to get into that later on in the stream. So David is going to go ahead and pull up a video here from the Wall Street Journal. Bear with me because I wanted a video that gave a good summary of what Section 230 is and what the Communications Decency Act is. So take a look at this video. It's not going to be too long. Then I'll be back to share the facts of the story with you.
Brian, are we playing the whole thing? Because I don't see any timestamps.
I put it on the template. So
okay, no, I just found it. It's not where I was thinking it would be. Sorry. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So while he pulls that up, I don't want to pause for too long here. So let's see what's up. What's up, Honesty? What's up, Absolute No Sleep? What's up, Andrea? What is up, John Edwards? Nicole? Okay, it looks like we are ready to go.
Leaders in government and tech want to rewrite a law that shapes the internet.
It is clear that Section 230 in its current form is no longer working.
This law needs to be updated so that it continues to work well.
I think that Congress should update the law to make sure that it's working as intended.
Section 230 is a law that governs who's liable for what people post on social media. But some critics say it lets platforms censor users or spread harmful information and should be rewritten.
Most everyone agrees that it's time to review Section 230, but there's not a lot of consensus about what the problems are with it or what to do about it.
To understand this debate, it will help to dissect the bill. Here's the first critical passage. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. This gives websites the first of two key protections.
One is immunity when one of their users posts something that might be offensive or harmful. In that case, the user is the one liable for the speech, not the internet company that hosted it.
In other words, Twitter isn't liable for what people tweet. That's different from traditional media companies who can be sued over what they publish. The other key protection that Section 230 gives internet companies is the freedom to moderate the content that users upload. The freedom to moderate comes from this passage. Companies that operate in good faith have the power to restrict access to material that they consider to be objectionable, whether or not such material is constitutionally protected.
So if they take down a post that's offensive or harmful, they won't be held liable for that either. It was written when the internet was really growing up, and there were a lot of websites out there, there were a lot of startups, and it was kind of a free-for-all in terms of what the rules of the road were around who could say what and who would be liable if something bad happened related to internet content.
In the 90s, internet service.
So that was the first clip. All right, now he's gonna go to minute number 5, and it's a really brief, maybe about 10-20 seconds here, and then I'll be back.
Because it's profitable. This isn't a speech issue.
On the campaign trail, Joe Biden said that it's time to revoke how much protection tech platforms get.
I, for one, think we should be considering taking away the exemption that they cannot be sued for knowingly engaged in promoting something that's not true.
Others, like Susan Ness, a former FCC commissioner.
All right, so Senators Mark Warner Okay, Amy Klobuchar, Mazi Hirono introduced a bill today in the Senate that seeks to rein in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which would make all tech platforms, not just social media apps, legally liable for the content that appears on their sites that, quote, pose real world harm. Now, obviously, from the wording there, that sounds very vague, which is my big issue with this whole thing to begin with. But before I share my thoughts, I do want to read to you guys this passage from an article from The Hill. And let's see, David is getting that up now. The article is titled Democratic Senators Introduce Bill to Limit Section 230 Protections. 3 paragraphs down, let's see, yep. 3 paragraphs down, it says, the legislation would make changes to the 1996 law that grants a liability shield for tech companies over content posted on their platforms. Notice it says tech companies. That's why I said not just social media apps. Over content posted on their platforms by third parties. The bill would remove some of those protections by allowing users who face cyberstalking, targeted harassment, and discrimination to seek legal action against the platforms. Now, that doesn't sound bad, right? But there's more. Quote, Section 230 has provided a get out of jail free card to the largest platform companies, even as their sites are used by scam artists, harassers, and violent extremists to cause damage and injury. End quote. Warner said in a statement Friday, quote, the bill doesn't interfere with free speech, according to him. It's about allowing these platforms to finally be held accountable for harmful, often criminal behavior enabled by their platforms to which they have turned a blind eye for too long, end quote. The proposed changes to Section 230 would not guarantee that platforms are held liable, but they would allow alleged victims an opportunity to raise legal claims without the law barring their efforts in certain cases. The bill would also make clear that Section 230 does not allow for impairing the enforcement of civil rights laws and statutes that address cyberstalking and harassment. The next paragraph says the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund and the ADL said they support the Democratic proposal, so that's interesting, of course. And Fight the Future said the bill would, quote, gut the landmark internet law and end up solidifying the market power of tech giants and harm smaller sites such as Patreon and Etsy. So basically, I don't want to read too much of this. Further down, it says Section 30 has come under fire from both sides of the aisle, albeit for different reasons. Democrats have widely criticized platforms for not taking enough action on hate speech and misinformation posted on their websites. Republicans, however, have called for the reform or repeal of the law over unsubstantiated allegations that tech giants consistently remove or block content with an anti-conservative bias. Now, that is the article from The Hill. So here are my opinions on this. I have mixed emotions about this. On the one hand, the proliferation of propaganda and the weaponization of conspiracies online has grown completely out of control, and it has directly led to people being killed, right? The US Capitol terror attack is like the culmination of what internet propaganda has led to. Now, the thing about that, though, is that was instigated by Trump in the Trump White House, and they're no longer in office anymore, right? So we should be good to go, right? But apparently not. Apparently, they still want to do something about this. But on the other hand, look, they can claim all they want that this is about protecting people from cyber stalking and internet bullying and internet harassment. They can claim that all they want, but let's not pretend that this isn't also about reining in political speech either, because I also think that's the ultimate goal here. And I think it's kind of just being wrapped in some of these protections. But a lot of this stuff is already illegal. You know what I'm saying? So you think Like, do y'all really think these politicians want people calling them out as strongly as we do? Sometimes maybe a little too strong, but as strongly as we do on Twitter um, right now. Because I don't think they actually like this. And the only reason Donald Trump started calling for the repeal of Section 230 in the first place is why? It's because people were making fun of him online. The most recent example of this, and I actually covered this on this channel, was the Diaper Dawn hashtag that went trending. It was trending for over a day, right? And that he really didn't like that at all. Nobody was talking about doing anything about Section 230 before Trump, right? Nobody even thought it was problematic before Trump. Matter of fact, I never even heard of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act before last year, right? So this is a new issue. This is a new issue that is just coming out of nowhere. So yes, Democrats who support this are following in Trump's footsteps, because Trump was the one who kind of got this ball rolling, and now these Democrats are following in his footsteps. Like I said, they're following up. Maybe not in terms of repealing it outright, which is what he wanted, but they are gutting it, or at least they are going to limit its reach and limit its potential. Before I end the video, there's one other thing that I want to talk about. This is going to have a major impact on left media, in my opinion. Anything that impacts freedom of political expression online that's signed into law, okay, is going to hurt content creators like myself and like all of the left leaning people, all of the progressives that you like on YouTube and elsewhere. It's going to hurt content creators, but it's also going to hurt users like yourselves, right? It's going to impact everybody. Everybody using any of these applications, Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, content creator or not, it's going to impact everybody. Notice too how this has bipartisan support, right? Democrats and Republicans want to do something about Section 230 all of a sudden. And I think in both cases, it's for clear political, it's for a clear political agenda. This is yet another example of bipartisanship hurting the masses, which is something people bring up a lot. You know, it's sometimes not a good thing that Democrats and Republicans are working together, because it doesn't always end up working in our favor. It's to help them, right? Now, look, the language of the bill is extremely important. That's going to dictate a lot. But like I said, though, something has to be done about the weaponization of propaganda, because it has gone too far. And I don't know that saying Twitter is responsible for trolls is the right way to do it, or at least Twitter is responsible for what trolls say. I don't know that that's the right way to do it. But if you have a social media platform like Twitter that has received numerous flags of particular like fascists and right wingers, like there are a couple that I can think of specifically. Some of them have already been kicked off of Twitter, but a couple of them actually still have their Twitter profiles. And I know for a fact that people have called them out numerous times for spreading lies, for spreading smears, just rank propaganda, right? And if a platform gets numerous warnings about these individuals, and there's a clear paper trail that leads directly back to them in terms of something that happened in the real world to somebody because of this propaganda, and the platform, the website still didn't do anything about it, that's different. Okay, maybe then you can open them up to facing legal ramifications. But I think it's opening up a can of worms when you say that you're going to give people the ability to sue any platform purely just because of something that somebody said that you might not like, but it doesn't necessarily impact you in the real world, right? I think that's very problematic. But we'll have to see what happens. I think this is going to lead, if this passes, if anything like this passes, because they've been trying to go after speech online for a while now. If anything like this passes, I think it is going to have major negative ramifications for content online, especially political content. it's just going to be widespread censorship, in my honest opinion. I think that's going to impact everybody, which is why I wanted to cover this story. So what are you guys' opinions on this? Before I wrap, we are at 16 minutes. Let's take a look here at the chats. I see here, Honesty says, Cat is out of the bag now, won't be able to take care of the legitimate problem without interfering with progressive political speech. Yeah, I mean, I think that's see, this goes back to the bipartisan thing, because I think Republicans want to limit progressive speech, and I think Democrats want to limit progressive speech, but they also want to limit the fascists as well. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy what's going to happen here. And then Chloe says, and people wonder why some of us feel like we have one party, two colors instead of two real options. D's and R's are the same. They're both unacceptable. I mean, it goes kind of in line with what I was saying yesterday about the Space Force, about how I don't necessarily always think the things that they say publicly is the real reasons why they push some of these agendas. So I think you're onto something there for sure.
Brian, check Slack. I dropped a couple of comments there from Twitch.
Let me see. Kira says, reinstate the fairness doctrine in private, veiled money in politics, in tech, in corporate monopolies. I know, but those three I mean, yeah, those will, I mean, that would do the job for sure. I don't think they're going to do that, though. If we had progressives in power and calling the shots, that could happen. But unfortunately, we have politicians that are trying to protect power. And then the Diabetic 86 says the internet has such a small effect size on bullying and its consequences. Kids were already dying from it in schools and still are. We need to address the things that actually make a big difference, like classes. Yeah, I mean, I agree. And then he says, or he or she says, admitting systemic problems and subconscious biases. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's I don't really think it's going to have the impact, and when it comes to bullying and stuff like that they actually think, which is why I don't think that's the real reason in the first place. Yeah, for some reason Twitch always gives me problems. I can't see the chat right now. Let's see. The meek shall inherit the squat says there are many forms to speak on. How will they censor all of them? See, the thing is, I think not only will this hurt like the platforms that already exist, it's going to hurt platforms that don't even exist yet, right? Because this is going to be a bill that, if it passes, it's going to impact everything. So everybody is going to have to follow the law, basically, or they'll face the consequences. They'll face legal consequences. Let's see. I don't know exactly how they're going to implement this, like on a platform by platform basis. The general fear, though, is that this could hurt free speech, regardless of what a politician says about it. They can say all they want to, but we know how that goes. Old school actually says old school chats were insane. I used to go into the Yahoo ones, and then I missed the message. But I don't want it to drag on for too long. I just wanted to share that story with you all. Thank you for joining me. I'm actually going to be out of town Monday, so I'm probably not streaming on Monday. I might do a special stream over the weekend, depending on what's happening. Be on the lookout for that potentially, but for sure, I will be back on Tuesday. So make sure you like the video, share the video, and if you're not already subscribe to the channel. We are producing content daily. So yeah, my name is Brian Lewis, and be on the lookout for my next stream. Thank you for joining.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.